I've obviously done something very bad in a previous life. This car is relentless in its punishment of that crime. You may or may not have seen, I did a little short, just a sniff test on it with a chemical kit just to test for hydrocarbons because it was losing coolant. Booked it in at a garage not far from where I live. Well, up there, said, yeah, they'll do a pressure test to test the head gasket. And I said, well, I've done a sniff test and it's failed. And he said the sniff test is unreliable, can give false positives. He had the car for probably 2 or 3 weeks. He found there was a leak. Basically, one of the hoses had rubbed through on the auxiliary belt. We replaced that. They did a pressure test, found there was another leak. He said they tested it up to 5 psi. He said they replaced the other pipe, which I gave him a new top hose because the top hose was really floppy. So they've put that on as well. Gave him a pump because I said a main water pump. I said possibly it's coming out of there, but it wasn't. They didn't fit that. They've done presumably another pressure test. He said they've tested it for an hour and there was no loss of pressure. He said they've run it at idle for an hour. That it was stable. There was no coolant loss. The temperature was stable. The fans were coming on and off. That's what he said to me. Then he said they were unwilling to road test it because the brakes were quite spongy. Do you want us to look at the brakes? And I said, yeah. I said, head the brakes. Then they've road tested it. They've put quite a few miles on it. Then I had it back and then I covered 100 miles maybe. Lifted the bonnet, looked at it. There's coolant round here, around these little breather pipes, these little ones. There's coolant round the auxiliary pump. There was steam, some steam, little bit of steam rising up this side here where the radiator connection, the lower connection is. And the coolant level has dropped down below minimum. So yeah, it's basically an inch below the seam on the expansion tank, which is below minimum. So it's definitely leaking coolant. Anyway, I rang up the guy and I said, it's leaking coolant or using coolant. I need you to, you know, I'm not happy basically. I didn't say that to him. I just said, I picked the car up last week. I've done about 100 miles and it's obviously using coolant. And he said, right, bring it back. No problem. Just bring it back and we'll do a pressure test on it. But to be honest, it's 2 hours round trip there and back. I need somebody to come with me in another vehicle to bring me back. So it's like 4 hours out of a day to drop the car off and 4 hours out of the day to go and pick it up. Plus 2 lots of fuel to do it. Like you're looking at half a tank of fuel, aren't you, to get there and back. So to be honest, I thought, sod this. I've heard a lot of good things about this place, and they do Jaguars. That's all they do. It's this era Jags. They've got lots of XKs, XJs, S-types, X-types there. And they've obviously been doing it a long time, but I've paid £775 to have 2 pipes changed and the brakes bled essentially, and it still leaks. So that is a shock to me really, because I'm used to doing my own cars. I'm not used to paying garage bills, and I know these cars you tend to pay more for work on them because it's a Jaguar. So, but fuck me, excuse my language, nearly 800 quid, 800 quid including the fuel, probably more than that, to have 2 pipes changed and it still leaks is a fucking... I've had my pants pulled down basically, haven't I? So anyway, fuck it. I've always done shit on my own for myself. I'm not the, I don't know all that much. I learn as I go. Yeah? So I've bought myself a pressure testing kit, and I've just been looking at the caps. Yeah, that's it. Connect that on there. And then oh, listen to that. Is he pissing out? So I don't know if you could hear that then, but I've inflated it to 1 bar and it's pissing coolant out somewhere. So really what I need to do, I think it's coming from down here by the sound of it. Look. That's that pipe there, basically, at the back. The thermostat, and that is brand new. Right, that was relatively painless, apart from the pain in the back of my knees from leaning against this bumper. I've replaced this pipe, which goes from the back of the thermostat housing down to the pump. Well, the coolant comes up presumably from the pump that way. And the clip was past the end of the pipe, so there was fluid getting around that pipe. So whether or not they just didn't pump it up enough to pressurize it. I've got it up to 1 bar now. It's dropping a little bit. It's 11:19. What's the time now? 11:21, and it's just under a bar. I'm just going to pump it up 1 more. It's right on that marker. So it's right on 15 psi now, and it's 11:21. I'm going to get my stethoscope and I'm going to listen. There's quite a bit of air in that system now, so it might hiss. Whew. Well, it's a bit of a struggle, but I've got this connector off now. This is for the auxiliary pump. Focus. This is it. They're supposed to be sealed up, so dismantled it and that's the inside of it there, look. So I bought this one, which is, I believe it was like a Volkswagen Borer or something like that, or camper van or something, like Volkswagen Type 4, Type 5 pump, Type 4 I think it was. This is basically an auxiliary heater pump or block heater pump, part number 0392 020 039. That's a 500 litre per hour pump. I've got a feeling, I don't know why, but I think, and I can't find any information, the 071 pump, which is the standard pump on the Jag, I think was 1200 litre per hour, or it was, I think it was over 500. Anyway, I found this one online, which is an 026, but it's got the Mercedes plug on it, and I've just soldered on. Basically, you've got some heavy duty crimps, these what are they, 3.2mm crimps or something like that. Strip the plastic off. These are just 2 pins on here, metal pins, and there's supposed to be a plug on there that on the Mercedes loom. But what I've done is I've used this. This is actually remote control car stuff. Sorry, Mr. Collins, but this is a heavy duty connection, and it is waterproof as well. I will just put a bit of tape around it as well, just to double seal it up, but it's pretty well sealed up, that is. And then I've got my shrink tube on there as well. I've put the cores out of the crimp connector over the pin. I've put the I've fed it up, rubbed down the pins a little bit just to key them a bit. Put a bit of flux on everything. Push those on, which they fit nicely onto the pin, and then put the wires in, and then run a load of solder inside. I've heated it up on the outside until it was hot enough to melt the solder, and I think that's going to be fine. They're nicely secured on there now, so that's satisfactory. I'm going to just put some shrink tube over those, and they'll be sealed up. So that's a 900 litre per hour pump. That should be plenty of flow for supplying the heater matrices, or matrices with lots of lovely hot coolant. I was worried that the 500 one might not pump enough to blow out some really hot air. So this one should be fine. It's gonna, I think it's going to be fine. If anyone can tell me what the original pump, the 0392 020 071 Bosch pump flows, I'd be grateful. Thank you. What do you reckon, Jeff?
Nice, yeah. Very luxurious.